Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, so what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you events in Seattle have been continuing for months. We were under the impression, or at least the mainstream media was under the impression, that this was only happening because Trump was president. Anyone with at least two brain cells to rub together like that could see that was not the case. The usual suspects of the usual organizations that are doing these things in Seattle and Portland and elsewhere, like in Kenosha and Los Angeles, Minneapolis, etc., couldn't care who the president of the United States was. They just wanted to assault society. Now, this is events last night in Seattle, but wait until you hear the ridiculous response by the mayor of Seattle to residents, because you're going to see some residents complaining about what's happening because people are fed up with what's happening night after night in Seattle. So let's get into this video, but if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video around. It only takes a few minutes to do those things. Share it to social media. It really helps this channel grow in an era where independent commentary channels are being heavily censored and restricted. So I need your help. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's check this out.
Como's Jonathan Cho and the calls for city leaders to speak out about what happened. Jonathan.
Yeah, Eric, right now the mayor and some city council members are being criticized for only sending out email statements in response to this most recent round of protest, destruction, and violence.
I reached out to the mayor today. She needs to come out and say, stop. Enough is enough.
Community activist Victoria Beach says the mayor's response so far is missing the mark.
Very weak. It's not addressing the problem.
We asked Mayor Durkan for an interview. Instead, her spokesperson sent us a statement that reads in part, violent threats, vandalism, and misogynistic and homophobic hate speech are unacceptable in our community. Mayor Durkan has consistently denounced individuals who are targeting small businesses and government facilities.
We're not talking about all that other stuff. We're talking about these fools that are out nightly destroying our city. That's what we want to hear about.
Councilmember Andrew Lewis also declined an interview, but sent us a statement that reads in part, property destruction is a crime. It has never been hard for me to distinguish between acts of petty vandalism committed by opportunists. Councilmember Lisa Herbold did not answer our questions either, but said...
So this is typical business as usual, mainstream media, mainstream politics. We're back to business. This is what the likes of Joe Biden and the Democrats meant when they said, we're back. This is what it is. You ask a question, and British mainstream politicians are just the same. I think it's all establishment. In the Western Hemisphere, it is all establishment politicians. They do the same thing. When you ask them about something, when you want answers, if you're a resident and you want answers to something, you ask them, and all they will do, they will either refuse to answer the question, or they will give you a very vague statement that only very slightly has anything to do with the subject matter. They won't answer the question. For example, if you ask a question about interest rates, could be anything. Let's take interest rates. Instead of answering your question on interest rates, they will give you a statement telling you what interest rates are, the history of interest rates, and their opinion on whether they're good or bad. They won't give you the answer about interest rates that you asked. And that could be anything. I just picked interest rates as an example. Now let's go back, because there is some key points I want to make to things that have been said in this. There's still a minute left of this interview, but I'll make my points and then we'll carry on. So let's go back.
Well, we start with Como's Jonathan Cho and the calls for city leaders to speak out about what happened. Jonathan.
Yeah, Eric, right now the mayor and some city council members are being criticized for only sending out email statements in response to this most recent round of protest, destruction, and violence.
So they say the latest round, but they've been there night after night. It's the same in Portland, day after day, night after night. Someone must be funding these people. They've been doing this not just for 6 months. This has been an ongoing thing for the last 4 years. And they just held out, hoping that when Donald Trump left office, they were hoping that it would mysteriously go away. No, these radical leftists, they want to attack society, Western society, capitalism. That's why they target all these private businesses. And the response to it is sending out an email. Now, after this, I'm going to show you some of the things that are happening, right? And the response to these windows being broken, these small business owners who are already suffering thanks to the Rona situation, and then they get their windows broken, which because of the Rona, they're in a position where they can't afford to replace those windows. Mayor Durkan and the Democrat Seattle government there, the local government, they tried to combat this radical leftist violence by sending out emails. An email. They want to use an email to combat the activities of TIFA and BM.
Violence.
I reached out to the mayor today. She needs to come out and say, stop. Enough is enough.
Community activist Victoria Beach says the mayor's response so far is missing the mark.
Very weak. It's not addressing the problem.
We asked Mayor Durkan for an interview. Instead, her spokesperson sent us a statement that reads in part, violent threats, vandalism, and misogynistic and homophobic hate speech are unacceptable in our community.
Who was talking about that? Listen, who? This is what I mean. Look at that message on there. That's the mayor. That's Mayor Durkan's response. That's Seattle's mayor response to small business owners and residents of Seattle who've just had enough of the day after day, night after night activities of the likes of Antifa. And their response is this, what you can see on your screen. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. That's them. It's a sleight of hand. The Democrats are experts at political sleight of hand. Okay, so instead of looking over there where all of the activities are, where the windows are being broken, people's lives are being made a hell, instead of looking over there, they say, don't look over there, look over here. Look where things are not. Don't look where things are. Look where things are not. And that's what this statement is. Nobody's talking about this. What's that got to do with anything?
Community. Mayor Durkan has consistently denounced individuals who are targeting small businesses and government facilities.
Okay, so another thing here. She says that she's consistently denounced individuals. They're not individuals. These people are organised. Have you not seen the footage of U-Hauls full of equipment? They have organised U-Hauls. These people are being funded. Even if they're bums, they still have at least food to buy. Okay? They're out there day after day, night after night. Someone's funding these people. Who paid for that U-Haul? Somebody's funding them. They're not individuals. Okay? They are a group. A group of people who are targeting businesses with a mission.
We're not talking about all that other stuff. We're talking about these fools that are out nightly destroying our city. That's what we want to hear about.
Councilmember Andrew Lewis also declined an interview, but sent us a statement that reads in part, property destruction is a crime. It has never been hard for me to distinguish between acts of petty vandalism committed by...
Isn't that great to know that you've elected a politician who, in response to months, nay years, of targeting of businesses and government facilities and even people who have been walking down the street and have been accosted by the likes of Antifa and co. And the response from the politician is, property destruction is a crime. No. Who would have thought that? Do you think the people of Seattle, who have been the victims of all of this, do you think they need you to tell them it's a crime? Did they ask you if it was a crime or not? This is the thing. When we had Donald Trump, we had 4 years of, at least on mostly the Republican side, you would ask a question and you would get an answer to your question. Now, in Joe Biden's own words, quote, we're back. So you don't get that anymore. We've gone back to the Obama days of people just not answering your question. They answer your question with a statement that either has absolutely nothing to do with the subject matter or only loosely has anything to do with the subject matter. And that's if they answer your question at all. You already heard that the man himself refused to attend an interview. Instead, he gave you this statement about property destruction being a crime. We know that. We don't need to be told that.
Opportunists. Councilmember Lisa Herbold did not answer our questions either, but sent us a statement saying, "I've spoken out against property destruction and violent behavior and will continue to do so."
Okay, so whilst you continue to speak out about it, the people who are ideologically aligned with you, this is the problem. And you know what, Seattle? If you vote for them, you get it. You get what you vote for, okay? You're not far behind Portland in that matter. But the people who are doing this damage to your city are ideologically aligned 100% with the people who govern your city. That's why there's no attempt to stop them. That's why only when they're pushed they will give you vague statements about "I oppose property destruction" or property crime, when they do nothing actual about it to stop the crimes from happening. You don't get FBI putting up wanted posters like they do. I tell you something, if a small group of Republican or Trump supporters went to Seattle tomorrow and accidentally kicked a football through a window, it would be national news. The same people who refuse to say anything or do anything would be out in force. Those people would be detained before they even got home, and you would never stop hearing about it.
Me, it's a complete mystery why we're not having more response.
Stephanie Sheeto with the East Precinct Advisory Council says elected officials should be holding press conferences during times like this to encourage and reach more people.
Because a lot of people seem to have become apathetic.
The mayor and the council members have yet to post these statements.
I think that's what the globalists want. They want people to be apathetic. They want you to be nihilistic. They want you to be in a mental and emotional situation where you think nothing can change, nothing will ever happen. This, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, I'll make it short, but this is why people voted for Donald Trump, because people don't want to be apathetic anymore. People didn't want to be nihilistic. People wanted to look forward to something. People wanted to be a part of something. People wanted to build for a future, not just for them, but for their children. This is something a lot of liberals don't understand, because, especially millennial liberals, because they don't have children, they don't know what it's like to think, "I want better for my children." They don't understand what it's like to worry about their future. They just don't understand, and they don't take the time out of their lives to understand. This is also why the mainstream media and globalist set tried so hard to destroy Trump, and they did destroy him. Because they don't want you thinking about hope, and they don't want you to get over nihilism or apathy. They want you to be apathetic, and they want you to stay apathetic whilst your society falls to pieces.
On their social media platforms.
If voters see them as taking a permissive or a disinterested stance towards violence, that could certainly elevate this issue.
Seattle University political science professor Patrick Shetmer says ultimately, holding public officials accountable is up to the voters.
And it could focus the election.
How about holding the people who are doing the damage accountable? It's like if you're a Democrat, and that's Democrat politician or voter, you are never held accountable for your actions. There seems to be some sort of strange mental block, an emotional block in everyone in society, regardless of which way you lean politically, that just stops people from having the same response that they would have if the person who committed the crime was a Trump supporter. If the person who commits the crime is a Trump supporter, people react and say that man must be held accountable, let's send him to prison. But when it's a Democrat that does it, it's strange. It's like people are beaten into submission where they think, "Oh well, we'll just ignore it this time." But when you ignore it too many times, you get this. What's happening in Seattle? Day after day after day. And he's right. I can't believe I'm agreeing with him, but he's right. It is down to the voters. But do you honestly think the lemmings who vote in Seattle and Portland are going to vote Republican? Do you honest? These are the people who tune in to. They eat CNN for breakfast. These are the people who sleep CNN. They eat CNN. They go to bed with CNN. They think that what they see on CNN is real when us, you and me, know it's a fabrication. So if CNN says vote Democrat, they're going to vote Democrat. Even as their entire city around them collapses. And the very most you can hope for is that they will leave Seattle and go and move to another state. Yet as soon as they get there, what do you think they're going to do? They will immediately vote blue no matter who.
Around issues of security rather than, say, issues of development and recovery.
Now, Mayor Durkan's already announced she is not running for re-election. We also reached out to the rest of the city council members about these protests. No one got back to us. For now,
Okay, so that's the end of that. They said that nobody got back to them because they don't want to answer for their actions. They've got no intention to. They don't believe they have to. Mayor Durkan said that she's not going to run for re-election, so she's just going to sit back, collect her taxpayer-funded paycheck, substantial paycheck, whilst the taxpayers themselves are losing their jobs left, right and centre. And she's going to sit back, because she's ideologically aligned with the people who are doing this, she's going to sit back and let it happen because she doesn't care about private business. She's socialist herself. She doesn't care about small businesses. She'll just let them all rot. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Let me know what you think of events in Seattle in the comment section below. If you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and share the video around. That helped me stay competitive with the likes of CNN and MSNBC and the like. It's really important that you do that because we are being silenced, shadow banned and censored out of public life. So it only takes a few moments to do that and you'd really be helping me out. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.